What are the key features of graphs? 1-1 key features of graphs. Example 1. What are the domain and range of y equals x squared minus 3? All right, this lesson is not about graphing graphs, so I'm going to give you the graph. So I'm just going to draw a very basic coordinate plane. This is my C term, which also is my y-intercept. So this graph is going to cross at plus, negative 3. And it opens up. That's all I really care about, is that you know it opens up from negative 3. First thing we need to know is what is domain and what is range. The inputs, also known as the x values, are the domain. So in other words, left and right. Left and right is domain.
Sorry.
The outputs are y values. Are the range, which is up and down. All right, there's two different ways we can write the domain and range. One way is set builder. Set builder notation, which uses inequalities. All right, so before we go any further, our domain is left and right. If I go to the left, those are negative numbers, correct? So if I go to the left, that's the way my infinity symbol looks. Sorry if it's not up to par with you, but you get the idea. And this is positive, infinity is to the right. Down is negative infinity, up is positive infinity. Because it goes on forever, numbers never stop. So does this domain ever stop going left or right? Does this parabola ever stop going left or right? Yes, Jayla?
Does that say notation?
Notation, yep. Does this parabola ever stop going left or right? No. So the domain, what we do is remember the symbol from yesterday that cut off our graph on Desmos? It looks like a bat wing. It's a little fancy bracket. All right, so we're talking about the x terms. So I go x slash. X is all real numbers. Have any of you ever seen that symbol right there? The R with an extra line? That means all real numbers. I usually don't use that symbol just because it doesn't look, I don't know what it looks personal. All right, range. Range is our y values, so I do my bracket. y slash.
What the freak?
I'm sorry.
What is that thing?
This?
R?
Yeah, it's an R with an extra line. It means all real numbers.
Before that.
That's just your bracket.
Oh,
I closed it. I opened it. I closed it.
I was confused.
That's fine. No problem. I'm glad you asked. All right, what's the lowest point on this graph right here? -3. Does it include -3? Yes. So y is greater than or equal to -3. So that is where our graph lives. It goes left to right forever, and it's greater than -3 up and down. There is another way that we can write out this information, and that is called interval notation. Interval notation is a set of real numbers a set of real numbers by the pair of values so pair obviously means two, like a coordinate pair, a set of values that are its left. So left is your minimum. And right. If left was our minimum, what's the right? Maximum. Boundaries. And boundaries just means where it lives. If you had pigs, it would be the fence that keep the pigs in. Yep, left is the minimum, right's the maximum, boundaries. And I'm going to make sense of that in like 2 minutes. All right, this is a more traditional bracket. Those are brackets, and those are the same as less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. So that means it includes the number. It includes the number. Can you touch infinity? So when you cannot touch the number, you use a parentheses. So this is the same as just less than or greater than. So the bracket is touching, the parentheses not touching. So if we go back to the same example that we started on, what's our smallest value going left to right? Negative infinity, correct? Can we touch negative infinity? So we use parentheses. Parentheses negative infinity, and it goes on forever to the right, so it's positive infinity parentheses. Now, what is the lowest number on this graph? If we go back and look, it's -3. Is it touching the -3?
Yeah.
So I use a bracket. -3, and it goes up to positive infinity, which you cannot touch, so I use a parenthesis. So far, so good? Just wait a minute. All right, let's try one of those on your own. Or actually, you can work with your table mates on this to see if you understand it. So this is a try it. If we had workbooks, I would give you a workbook and you could do it right in there, but we don't. So y equals the absolute value of x minus 4. So that's not supposed to be a parenthesis, that's supposed to be an absolute value sign. Let me fix that. So x minus 4, absolute value sign. And since this lesson is not on graphing, I will help you with this. Danielle, is this the same as being in parentheses, being an absolute value? Remember when in the past week when we've done transformations, we talked about stuff in parentheses? Is being in an absolute value the same as being in parentheses? Yes, so what does that control, left to right or up and down? Parentheses control left to right, but what do we know about it? They are liars, right? So instead of going to the left 4, this absolute value is going to the right 4. Thank you, Danielle. So all that's happening is this absolute value moves to the left 4 spaces. All right, so go ahead and tell me what the domain and range is, please, in both forms. All right, we should be just about done with this. The domain, does this absolute value ever stop going left or right? So it's all real numbers. I'm just going to abbreviate that ARN for all real numbers. And in interval notation form, can you touch infinity? So it's parentheses negative infinity, comma positive infinity. For the range, what's the lowest point on this graph? 0. Thank you, whoever said that. Does it include 0 or touch 0? Yeah. Yes. So y is greater than or equal to 0. So now when we in interval notation, it's touching the 0. So I do my bracket 0, and it goes up to positive infinity, and we use a parenthesis because you cannot touch infinity. All right, we're halfway done with today's lesson.
Wait, why wouldn't the domain be -4 instead?
Because domain is left to right. This graph goes forever to the left and forever to the right.
Okay.
You got it? All right. All right, example 2. What are the x and y intercepts of y equals the absolute value of x minus 3? All right, so it wants two things. It wants the x-intercept, and it wants the y-intercept. All right, so all I did is write the equation twice. That's all I did. One of them we're finding the x-intercept, the other one we're finding the y-intercept. To find the x-intercept, we plug in 0 for y. So 0 equals the absolute value of x minus 3. We're solving for the absolute value of x, so how do I get rid of a minus 3? We add 3. Because we're looking for the x-intercept. So what we want to do is when you find an x-intercept, what's the y value? When we find an x-intercept such as this, what's your y value at that point right there? 0. Your y-intercept, the x value must be 0. Good question. So now, absolute value is how far a number is from 0, correct? Is 3 an answer? Yes. How about negative 3? Well, how far away from 0 is negative 3? 3. So the way we write this is plus or minus 3. Plus or minus 3. All right, so David, you were exactly correct. When we found the x-intercept, we plugged in 0 for y. So what do you think we're going to plug in to find the y-intercept? 0 for x. What's the absolute value of 0? What's 0 minus 3? There you go. And just so you all don't think I'm lying to you, I will graph that and put it on the board. There you go. It crosses at negative 3 and positive 3 and has a y-intercept at negative 3. All right, let's try it. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm just going to right now. Maybe. It doesn't want me to agree, I'm sorry. There we go. African adversity. All right, please try this one on your own or with your table mates. That's perfectly fine too. So g of x is the same exact thing as what? Y. Good job. So please go ahead and find the x and y intercepts for that. Yes. All right, about 30 more seconds. All right, there's 3 negatives that I really don't like. Negative people, negative bank accounts, and negative variables. And on this one, we have a negative variable. How do I get rid of a minus x squared? Add it. That's what I would do. All right, this 2 is squaring. What's the opposite of squaring? Square rooting. So what's the square root of 4? You're half right. What's negative 2 times negative 2? 4. So it's plus or minus 2. On this one here, 0 squared is 0, 4 minus 0 is 4. So my x-intercept is at plus or minus 2, and my y-intercept is simply at 4. All right, last thing for today. Zeros of the function. Are where it crosses the x-axis. They are also known as roots or solutions. So zeros, roots, and solutions are all the same exact thing.